Hello, everyone, and welcome to this week's. Actually, this is going to be the start of the podcast, but not really. So we're joined here by, at this time, a snarky goblin.
Attempting to be rather snarky, but keeping it chill.
Well, that's
With
your battle
Overwatch
tag.
too.
That's what we
Yeah.
go by. Yeah.
Yep.
And we're going to be talking about Overwatch 2. We got in the beta the same way most people did, watching streamer streams and AFKing and playing something else or doing work.
As I like to call community-assisted padding stats.
I mean, to be honest, I appreciate Seagull's stream, who I ended up on, because his stream name was AFK here. He's like
he knows which side of his bread is
totally
buttered.
appreciate him, because I started as soon as I got up, and he goes, if you're gonna AFK here, I'm gonna run more ads. Because like you gotta do what you gotta do, I gotta do what I gotta do, and I'm like, I appreciate the honesty and the hustle, my man. I did end up watching some of it until XQC came on. I don't like XQC very much, but you kind of just have to deal with him whenever it's pro Overwatch.
I went with Hasman Gold because it was funny seeing his reactions because it was all muted for me because I was at work. But
yeah, I put on his stream for a bit, but he was having a developer Q&A.
Yeah, I didn't catch it that part, but yeah, it was interesting once we got into it. It felt a little stuttered at first because it was like, okay, here's your drop, and then it's like,
oh man, the drop's not giving you the right time.
Can I play now, or do you want me to do a little funny dance? What's up?
Yeah, I think it took me like an hour for mine to unlock, and it just showed up out of nowhere, and I'm like, oh god, it's here.
Yep. And so we got a new hero.
Yeah, we got Sojourn. What do you think of Sojourn?
I would consider her a high tier flanker, personally. High skill ceiling. She's I think you had it right when you were mentioning how she's like, a better Soldier 76.
Yeah, she's the Soldier 76 if you're better at aiming because of her alternate fire, the railgun. So for those who haven't played or haven't seen, I don't know if I'll have footage of her or not. I'm just gonna put up whatever footage I have because it was janky. Her primary fire charges up a number on the top of, it's like in the middle of the screen, and when it gets to 100, your railgun's fully charged and you can shoot it for a devastating damage. But it's like a railgun in Quake 2 or whatever, where it's gonna go straight line wherever you point it, and if you've got bad aim, it's kind of a waste. I've heard the threshold of it on a squishy is you can fully kill someone with a headshot at 85 charge, I want to say was the number, but that might change. Don't take that to heart. Otherwise, yeah, Sojourn didn't feel that impressive, but then there were definitely games where we were playing against people who were I want to say Grandmaster at least, and we just got stopped.
Well, the thing that makes Sojourn kind of like balanced a little bit more is the skill ceiling with her. With Soldier 76, it's much more about your placement, where you are in the map, and getting that flank and picking that right time to kick on your ult and have the aim assist. Whereas Sojourn, she could probably put out a lot more damage because her secondary fire at full charge is 130 hit points as of right now. And then it can be a headshot with that. And then, of course, her ult, I think, allows, what would we figure, like 6 shots?
You can get about 6 shots if you charge it up the whole way. You can get more if you... it's Overclock, I believe is the name of her ultimate. And she charges up and then shoots. And then the railgun will just keep charging, and you can just keep shooting it.
Oh, definitely. Honestly, until the end, it's a time thing, but it constantly charges it up. through that time. So total output, if she's like not doing headshots but doing body shots the whole time, full charge, it's what was it, like what did I say? 780 HP is damage. So
but you
she's
could also
able to
eat
dish
those,
out
right?
some damage. You can eat those, which there's more things that eat things now.
Yeah, because Doomfist has one, Arissa's got one, Divas is better, Sigma still got his, there's still Ryan Shield, Maze Paul, like there's a lot of stuff to interact with it, and there's probably other heroes we don't know about yet. I'm gonna assume, since there was talk with the developer, I saw a couple tweets floating around where they were talking about there being another beta after this one.
I thought I heard there was going to be I'm going to just say a number because I don't want to be completely incorrect about this, but a number of new heroes with Overwatch 2. Now, it might not be in this particular instance of the beta,
6.
but
6
that
was the
sounds
number
right.
I
It was
heard.
like 5 or 6, if I recall correctly. But it was,
There better be some tanks and healers in there.
don't get me started on that. I'm trying to be nice.
I know,
but
but it's just we need some more tanks and healers. Because
the thing, let's just go down the line. So let's see here. So we got so in the tank category, did you get a chance to play much around with Diva?
I did. I have played a few games with Diva. She is interesting. I played a lot of her on Overwatch 1 because I'm sure there's a bunch of people that don't know that I played a ton of Diva and kind of like the character. It's not like I have a giant. It's not like I have a Toki right here. Just behind me. But yeah, I found Diva to be interesting, but I always ended up playing her on like a push map or something, and Coliseum, one of the newer maps, where I found it hard to play because I kind of like to be on the side and just shoot down on people, but you kind of have to play a little different because there's no other tank. But Diva definitely to me felt good. She's a good spot. I think maybe Arissa's more powerful, but we'll get to her. I don't know. I found her to be pretty decent though. I did get some Bunny Blaster kills, and the new lines are Cringe is a good one.
Well, I think the big difference that is taking a lot of time for at least me to adjust to is definitely like with the way that these changes are happening. I feel like beyond just like if you're breaking down the numbers, breaking down roles that you have in a team fight, it's changing very dynamically how you play Overwatch. Because there's a lot of things that you suddenly, it's a lot more important that you don't get out of position. Because you very quickly will die.
Yeah,
Doesn't matter who it is, if you're out of position. It's much more important if you have a shield tech to play behind that shield. It's much more important if you don't have a shield tank to be aggressive, in my opinion, and always be constantly doing something towards the enemy team or towards positioning yourself. Every time I've seen a game played where a team either hesitated or played, there's definitely a concept of too cautious. Whereas in Overwatch 1, too cautious meant you just stalled. Overwatch 2, too cautious meant your team died.
Well, it depends on what sort of pace the other team's setting, but I have seen a lot of Arisas trying to play new Orisa, like she's old Orisa, where she kind of wants to hype people, whereas new Orisa's just like, no, get right in their face and beat the junk out of them.
Oh yeah, new Orisa is entirely Leroy Jenkins the whole game. Every time you see somebody, you charge at them, and again, that gets you caught up, and it's kind of like old Reinhardt, where you get caught up in charging in, pinning somebody, swinging your hammer a couple times, you're killing people left and right, and you then get out of position and the other team collapses on you, and you very quickly die unless your team followed you in. So with Orissa's new changes, I like it. She's fun to play, hilariously fun to play, but also horrible to play against. Like the amount of times that either both of us or me and the other DPS or you and the other DPS are just pouring damage into Orisa, and she gets a little bit of hero support, like mercy support or any of the healers supporting her, and she's not playing it completely stupid. We're just like pouring damage after damage on her, and she is just not dying.
I'm thinking it might be people need to take the healers out of the equation to win those fights, and it's more on the DPS to actually make these plays rather than the tanks and the healers to try and do it. I've been playing a lot of Ana, I think, in the beta, and a bit of Brig, mostly Ana.
So yeah, definitely with Orisa, I mean, it is amazing fun being able to swing your javelin around and not take any damage, eat all kinds of damage. A lot shorter than what D.Va can do, but then in addition, it's similar in kind of effect as to D.Va using her defense matrix and then charging forward.
Doom's is the most different of the lot, but yeah. Orisa's one is actually really good, and she also fortifies during it, which makes her. Does she fortify, or she can fortify during it? Sorry, I should say. Her ult's the one where she fortifies for free.
So a big one is just being able to knock somebody off the map, and also she throws her javelin, which knocks people back a little bit, and can pin people to the wall for a second. Not a full second, but like.
The javelin, in my opinion, the thrown one, in the hands of someone who actually hit people with it, is deadly.
Yeah.
A lot of people just like throw it for the sake of throwing it, I feel, and miss all sorts of things. I feel like Orisa is very powerful with support, but she's kind of in this niche, in this spot where she's very, very similar to Reinhardt and Doomfist. Like Doomfist now, not DPS Doomfist. Because those are two very different things.
What I found with Orisa is that when you play her in for example, a solo, if you catch Orisa without her team, initially she's deadly. And that again goes to more of a skill ceiling where someone who's really, almost perfect on their hits and all that stuff, and timing their cooldowns and all that. She can probably almost, I want to say with reasonable certainty, 2 or 3 of the enemy tanks on her own, out of a full team against Orisa.
A lot of the tanks with support can do 2 or 3 though. Except for Doomfist, I haven't seen the oppressive Doomfist players yet.
Very quickly with Orisa, you run out of cooldown, and then you are probably slower than most of the other tanks. Definitely than all the DPS, and they'll swarm you. So initially, Orisa's super oppressive. Then her cooldowns, start going off, and then she has to wait to bring it back up again, and she dies very quickly then. Again, then it all matters of you can't try to run away because you're not going to get away. Period. With a little bit of support, she's pretty solid. So she's one of those that she's got to be a hard charger, but at the same time not beyond the ability of her support to assist her, or the DPS from keeping all the enemy in front of Orisa. So beyond that, I would say I like her, and we were talking a lot about how the sounding was different. And for the most part, I like the new sound for weapons, abilities, how everything sounds. It sounds a lot better. I joked that the only one I really didn't like was Brig. Brig sounded like they're, she's slapping somebody with an empty Coke can. And I mean, if you hate Brig, you probably are okay with that, but it just sounds awful.
Your shield bash and the flail sounds pretty good, but
yeah,
I would say that McCree's primary fire sounds really it's really devastating sound. It's really loud, which is kind of a stark comparison to Overwatch 1. Oh, sorry, it's totally. Cassidy now. It's Cassidy. I keep forgetting. He's good. I'm gonna call him McCree forevermore, but Cassidy.
I'll probably be more successful at calling him Cowboy.
Cowboy. Of the characters that changed the least that you played, who do you think is still really good of the ones you like to play?
Still really good. I would say Soldier 76 is still pretty dang solid.
Yeah.
Moira feels a little bit weaker. Mercy still feels like at this point, if anyone who plays Mercy is a masochist and they like getting hurt.
I don't know if that's true, but
you're entirely a target the entire match, and then you're entirely dependent. Your movement is entirely dependent on your position of your team, which, like I said, your team has to stick together more than what they can do with Overwatch 1. And so when I played Mercy, there's less opportunity to just fly all over the place. Now, again, I'm going to probably tick off the DPS players, but the whiny DPS players, they probably like it because they found her so difficult to shoot this entire time. But they'll probably like that. Mercy can still put out a lot of healing, and as long as she's not being pressured, can support her team very effectively. Not really any changes to her, as I recall.
I think it's just healing numbers, but no ability change, no massive changes. She's basically the same. Same with Moira. Lucio. The only change with Lucio was they made all the temporary health into its own category. It's just green now.
Yeah.
By default.
Lucio is a lot more powerful in not any changes to his ability, but just in changes to the general gameplay of Overwatch 2, making Lucio more important.
I don't know if it's more important or just he's just always been super powerful, and everyone's like, "Hey, check this guy out," and now he's just even more powerful because he can just harass people even harder.
Well, we're definitely at a period of time when we're looking at Overwatch 2 and meta is not even being really decided. It honestly feels like a watching a hockey peewee tournament where there's just a swarm of little children, descending on the puck. Same thing. And that's what's making Lucio kind of powerful, is the ability of him to dash his team forward to either get away from the enemy team or
we didn't talk about the new passive.
Swarm.
We didn't talk about the new passives because healers all have a passive now. They heal. I don't know the exact number, but they start regenerating health after a second without taking damage. And that kind of helps Lucio more than others because he could still speed and retreat and start healing. And then if he needs to heal up faster, he can switch to healing song. I don't really play Lucio. I find him to be disorienting to play.
I see you.
I forgot about that change.
Yeah,
I think
that's definitely a big one, and I really feel like it's more because of like the position of say Lucio as in the thick of it. It affects him less than say somebody like Anna, where she's usually poking her head and playing corners and kind of away from the fray.
She can be, or kind of in the middle, depending how you play her.
Yeah.
Ana is definitely more punishing to play now, especially if someone jumps in on you.
Oh, completely, and especially if you're an Orisa that catches an Ana unawares, you're done.
Yeah, you really need to. Good headphones is really important.
Yes. Kind of catch, so her for Anna, her sleep dart cooldown increased, so they also kind of nerfed her a little bit in that sense. And this is from
Still nasty though. It's
April
still
26th.
nasty.
So
yeah, I think it's 15 seconds is the cooldown right now.
Yeah, 15
as
seconds
of right now. But it used to be 12.
So Baptiste, his primary fire is minimum fall range reduced from 25 meters to 20 meters.
I don't even. I'm gonna be honest. The minimum range, or like the maximum range, I haven't really felt that at all. Like any of those changes on Overwatch 2, I have not really felt like the guy's too far away. Because the maps are designed differently, especially the new ones. Because we've got new Queen Street, Colosseo. What's the new? There's the New York map. I can't remember what it's called. There's the Circuit Royale, which is a new payload map. That's that weird one that goes like up the hill, and that map's cool. And then we have a lot of returning maps like Grotto, which has some new cars, which I made a big deal about, and everyone's like, these cars were here. No, they weren't. It's wide open normally.
So they have, Overwatch 2 has 4 new maps. So Circuit Royale is the new escort map.
Yep.
Midtown, I believe, is the New York one.
Yeah, that's the New York one.
New hybrid map. Toronto is a push map, and Rome is a push map.
Yeah, that's Colosseo and New Queen Street.
What did you think about the push mode?
Push is super interesting, but I feel a lot of people are not using the openness and all the side angles on those maps effectively at all. There are so many little routes, nicks, crannies. You can just like sneak through buildings and like take people by surprise. Like even Toronto, there's this big like section in the middle where there's like there's streetcars on either side, or at least on one side, and you can actually go under the underpass. Or the underpass actually goes all the way across to the middle, and there's like a mega inside, and it's open on both sides. So you can like get around someone without doing things. People don't know how to play push yet well, but push mode is good.
Well, the concept's pretty simple. Like it's payload with a reverse.
Kind of. It reminds. I know you've probably never played Splatoon, but in Splatoon they have a tower control map mode, and you get on the tower, you paint it your color, and it goes towards your enemy spawn. And then whoever got it the closest to their enemy spawn or to the goal wins. So if you get the robot to push the wall all the way to the enemy spawn, basically, you win the game. Or most of them have gone to time that I've played. I think we've made it all the way once. I think once. I don't remember. But the games have usually been really good though. Like they've been back and forth, and you can like fight and stop the robot, and the robot's got some funny comments to make. Talk about.
Yeah, push is one of the modes that I think Overwatch and Blizzard's dev team for Overwatch has really pulled out a win on. It doesn't matter even if you're outclassed, it feels fun. You don't feel like curb stomp.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like QCP.
Curb stomp. There's definitely modes that they've had where you just play and then you're like, did I forget how to play this game? Like I get it, I'm not great, but dang.
Yeah.
But with push, it definitely feels you feel that struggle. There's the only time it's really critical is when you run out of time, and then you just have to stay with the robot that's pushing. As long as you do that, you can still potentially win. And so then it's more of a matter of it upping the stakes, and that feels fun, and it feels good to pull out, and it kind of reminds me of the thing I missed from the original versus, where it'd be best of 5, and then they went to best of 3.
Talking about what is it's controls that mode, I believe, with the 1 point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it used to be best of 5, and anytime you played it in or first to 3, I think was a better way to put it. But
yeah. Well, it's one of those things where, and I was mentioning it earlier, that felt fun because there was so many times that your team would screw around for 2 games, 2 of the matches, and get their butts kicked, and then all of a sudden that 3rd match, they're like, all right, for reals though, I'm gonna play now.
Well, that's how you do it in Owl, or they do it in Owl. It's just weird that they don't do it that way in Live. Consistency rule set wise is probably something I think we're lacking. Like, I get that the pros are way better than us, and they're gonna be able to do crazy things, and we're gonna see them next week. I think they're starting next week on the Sojourn patch.
Yeah, they're starting next week, and that's going to open up another round of drops that they can people
watch
can
it
get
on YouTube. It's still they still have the YouTube deal. I wonder how the Microsoft acquisition's going to affect Owl on that, but that's a whole other can of worms we don't need to get into here. Just talking about.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I mean, so like going along with the tanks, you have Reinhardt. He got an extra fire strike
and damage adjustments.
Yeah,
numbers. But those numbers, I think Reinhardt needs to be tuned up a bit, or they gotta tune Orisa down. There needs to be some like number adjustments in the tank category. Doomfist, I think, got the hose though. We'll get into that in a second, but
I don't particularly mind that. But beside my unending hatred towards Doomfist and Doomfist players, it definitely feels like there's like, I remember what they said about Mercy back when she was OP, and they were like, well, if the other team has Mercy, you had to have a Mercy. You had to match it, otherwise there was no chance.
Yeah, when she had Falcon, the 2 reses. Yeah.
It's not as bad as that, but Orisa definitely feels
This is not the end.
Fairly strong enough that it could be that there's not a decent counter to Orisa power-wise that honestly can really challenge her legitimately.
I think the problem with Orisa right now is that she gets a lot of time in Fortify, where she gets the bonus damage reduction, and then Fortify gives her temporary health now, I think it is.
Yes, it reduces some of her damage, I believe. Yeah.
But it was incoming damage, not her damage, and it reduces her heat because she's got unlimited ammo now. Heat generation.
Here it changes. Yeah. Where is she? Okay, so
yeah, the big thing with Orisa is she's got unlimited ammo. She generates heat every time she shoots. Fortify gives her temporary health, and she still gets her damage reduction from it, and is immune to sleep dart when she's in it.
Yeah,
and she's got the javelin she throws.
Duration for Fortify increases to 4.5 seconds, so it's just a half a second more. It reduces, like you said, heat damage. I was incorrect. It doesn't reduce her damage incoming to her at all. It slows her by 20%. She gains 125 extra health.
Oh, it doesn't reduce damage, but it prevents her from being headshot, right?
That might be one that they didn't mention here, but the article I've been looking at, it doesn't say that.
I'm pretty sure you can't headshot her when she's in that, but that's basically damage reduction. Because that's one of the changes they did before with Fortify. But that's besides the point. I think what makes her kind of crazy right now is she hits that Fortify button and you can't sleep her, which is the big counterplay that I have is playing Ana most of the time. Playing against her on D.Va, I actually did that last night, this morning, whatever you want to call it. It's tough. It really is. You kind of have to just ignore her and go kill whatever support is supporting her first. Otherwise, you're not going to win. And
yeah, she's definitely one of those tanks that if she has a modicum of support.
I found Winston to also be pretty oppressive, but
to kind of oppressive. Definitely. And then if she has a whole team fighting behind her, supporting her, you're gonna have a bad time.
I think Orisa in particular has a lot of like really good just overall, she's a hit that just overall is good. Reinhardt feels a little bit weak in comparison.
Oh, completely. And part of that, again, is with all these changes, they very, very drastically changed timings of how the cooldowns work, what abilities, and so I'm giving them the benefit of the doubt and assuming that instead of it being like, oh, Reinhardt's trash now, they need to improve him this way or that way, it's more, I'm not used to the timing of like Orisa's abilities, so you know, it's been feeling every time I go to charge Orisa, she either has Fortify or she has her Javelin spin, which I believe just keeps bopping him away.
It does damage and it pushes, and I think it makes her move a little faster. I'm not 100% sure.
She moves 60% faster while active and by 20% for 2 seconds after the spinning ends. Rapidly damages enemies in her path, dealing up to 90 damage and consistently knocking them back. She for 1.75 seconds destroys all incoming projectiles. Like I said, it's very similar in aspect to like D.Va's defense matrix, but then on top of that,
it's better in a couple ways, but worse in others because they adjusted. Because D.Va gets, I think, 4 seconds of defense matrix now or something. It's kind of which means they can just kind of lean on it, which is okay sometimes. It doesn't have the. Does it still have the? See, I can't tell you for sure. It's the activation cooldown. Like you couldn't just spam like flick on D.Va's defense matrix. It was like a I want to say global cooldown, like a MMO, but it was some sort of cooldown in between being able to use it. There's only so much you have in a bar. When it's 4 seconds if you just lean on the right click, pop it, but I think there's still a cooldown in there where she can't just flick it to grab things.
Yeah. There's definitely some things that feel odd. Again, I'm trying to give them the benefit of the doubt and just assume that there's a lot of it that's just there requires a drastic change in how you play Overwatch. But definitely with Reinhardt, they swapped around some stuff. His base armor increased from 200 to 300, but then his base health increased from 300 to 350.
Yeah, they just
so
gave him
he gets
more.
150 more HP total. His steadfast is replaced by Tangrel passive, which
it's the same thing. I think the Tate is plus knockback. It's the exact same as steadfast. It's just everyone's got that, which is another reason why Orisa's kind of more oppressive than she was, because you can't just knock your back like you used to.
Well, either their steadfast for Reinhardt is too little, or it's just every time they go, oh, Reinhardt's not supposed to be able to boop this way and that way, and then I'm sitting there playing for 5 seconds up in the air going, I would really like to be somewhere on the ground. ish.
That's the thing, though. Like, Arissa doesn't have her halt anymore.
Mm-hmm.
And, like, the only other guy that can really boop you would be Lucio, maybe Ash?
Lucio, Junkrat, Ash, um, Doomfist. Arissa
Doomfist?
can still boot me.
Doomfist is really interesting because he lost one of his abilities and got replaced with Power Block. And Power Block
And I would like to
is...
point out
Oh my god. Power
that
Block's the worst.
Arissa gained abilities to boot me as run. So
That's
before
true.
she just had that all energy that would pull you away. Okay, fair.
Does her
But now she
javelin...
has the spinning javelin that boops. The javelin will boop, and I don't get booped very far, and I'm getting yeeted off the map.
You're fine.
I'm not saying it's perfect. It's not perfect balance.
Ryan in the 1,000 pounds of German engineered armor is sitting there going, yes, the small javelin yeeted me off the cliff. But that's the thing that weirds me out a little bit is the changes to his barrier field. So I understand.
Is it less shield overall?
It's less shield overall and less regeneration per second. So he's gone from 1,600 shields to 1,200 shields, and then the regeneration rate reduced from 200 to 144 health per second.
Eyes on a target.
The thing is again, this is a whole nother Overwatch. It is different enough that I would say you have to almost treat it like it's a completely new game.
Yeah,
because it very much like and again, this is more me trying to be fair to Overwatch and not just fly off the corner as I was while we were playing, and being like, this is trash.
Yeah, Overwatch. Well, Ryan's got better control of his charge now, but I kind of think that we haven't really tested anything like that. But can you? Because Doomfist new block, the power block. Can you charge him when he's doing it?
We would have to test that, but
yeah, I don't know.
Haven't had
but I know he can.
To.
I know he can get hit by a sleep dart with it and just pass out. It kind of... That's why I kind of don't like Arissa's spin. Right now, I don't think there's a counter for it. Like, a good counter for it.
Well, see, going from, like, my, taking Overwatch 1 into consideration, this is where it's confusing. I understand they're trying to, more ingrain each role's damage is supposed to be doing damage. Tanks are supposed to be tanks. Supports are supposed to be support. And then anything outside of those realms should be reduced. Okay, fair. But with Rhine, they're like, we're going to reduce your ability to tank, and then we're also going to reduce your ability to put out damage. And I'm okay with the damage part. Makes sense. You don't want Rhine to be oppressive. Fair. But then you take his ability to be a tank and you reduce it. I mean, honestly, if this was an Overwatch 2, we would be seeing this as a fairly significant nerf for Ryan.
Yeah,
because his pin charge on wall impact reduced from 300 to 225.
Yeah, it used to be like 500, right? You hit someone?
No, it was 300. So if they were squishy, if it was...
Because you'd almost kill another Rhine if you squished them. Not including any... Because usually you'd, like, grab another Rhine, throw him into a wall, and I'd throw the nade to make sure
usually when you
died.
pin another Rhine, you still have to have at least one more...
one more hit, and someone else to shoot it. Okay, yeah, that sounds about right.
And so you get with Rhine, you reduce his HP goes up. I'm like, okay, that feels tankier. Steadfast is replaced by tank roll. I'm like, okay, you're pretty much, as I understand it, calling it by a different name. Cool.
Yeah, they just made it. Everyone gets it.
Then you go barrier field. Okay, one of the main reasons why Ryan is slow is he's a guy carrying this huge shield. I'm like, that's fair. He's slow. He can't just like yeet himself across the map without a whole ass jet engine on his back to get to somebody. That's fair. He's also carrying a hunky shield. Well, no, that's reduced by 400 HP. And then your ability to regenerate that. So your shield's going down quicker, and then your ability to bring that shield back up is taking longer.
Yeah, the shield's interesting that they even kept it. I'm kind of surprised. I know it's like part of his kit and something that you kind of needs to have.
Yeah. But it's trying to figure out what the goal is, because it feels like they're pulling Ryan in so many different ways. So, like I said, HP, tanky, cool. Shield, he's less of a shield tank now. Charge, he has more control of his charge, making him being a little bit more dynamic on the field of battle. So, yeah, okay, that puts him more towards attacking, which isn't tanky. Like the cooldowns for charge goes 10 to 8 seconds, but then they're reducing the damage, which, when you combine it all, it equals out. But then he has
you're still gonna smush a squishy and they're gonna die.
Yeah.
Like, if it's not a tank, they're pretty much dead if you get them.
Yeah. And so it's trying to figure out what their direction they're trying to go, and then turning around and taking that information and going, okay, how am I supposed to play him? Ryan, it's not as much like getting that Ryan is a wet paper bag. It's more trying to figure out, okay, how does Overwatch 2 want me to play Ryan?
It is kind of interesting because Ryan in Overwatch 1 plays so well with Zarya, and I think Zarya is another tank that's kind of in a rough spot. Where, yeah, they did changes to her, but they feel like they're just basic and don't make her that much better right now, unless there's someone coming that I don't know. Like, I almost feel like you want to play Brig with Zarya at all times, and your Brig's just gonna act like
I still have some fight.
your mini Ryan.
I feel like the winners of the tank changes are on top. Orisa, definitely.
Yeah.
Wrecking Ball has.
Wrecking Ball's still crazy.
To be honest, he won a little bit. Not as much. He still has that high skill ceiling, but then the adaptive shields, the health gain per target increased from 75 to 100. So he can roll into the middle of you and just fully shield up.
That's true. Ball is still good.
And his damage is staying the same.
Yeah, he's still good, but he's also probably one of the hardest tanks to play well. And the fact that there's no other tanks to use, like, we know some Overwatch pros are gonna be like, Hammond's their best tank, and it's gonna be. Probably gonna see a lot of them in the Overwatch League. I can pretty much guarantee that. Sigma's kind of in a weird
when you
spot.
have that tech ability with Hammond, he's very dangerous. Winston also won, and not in a straightforward way like Orisa. Orisa's pretty much won in a straightforward way, and if you're a Orisa fan, I apologize for this, but she's now the mercy of tech. You don't have to be great at Orisa to be great at Orisa.
At the moment, yeah, I agree with that. But this is still beta, and numbers and
yeah, everything's
it's up in the air whether it stays this way or not. But
Winston got a little bit more of a tech boost in his ability, so there's a lot of things that they're able to do with him when you combine all the different tech with Winston that make him a little bit more deadly, give him a little bit more range.
a little bit more range. Have you seen that thing? If you were already good with Winston, from what my understanding is, you're gonna jump on a target now. You want to charge up that secondary on the Tesla cannon. hit them mid-air, drop on them, melee cancel, because you can melee cancel as soon as you hit the ground. And you have the bubble on them because you dropped it just before, and you can still hold the charge while you're dropping the bubble.
Yep.
Like,
and
the guys who are good at
them
Winston
down.
are gonna dominate, and I've seen this
Oh, yeah.
in games already. It's like, if you are at least if you could do half of what I just said, half of that, you're probably in a good spot with Winston.
Yep.
Because
And then
you can still walk off Ana, Moira. Brig doesn't care as much about it, but his Tesla cannon is still, even just the regular fire is still good. I don't think they changed the damage on it, did they? The primary fire. I think all I saw was the.
for a 30 meter range, load of electricity deals up to 50 damage at full charge, cost 20 ammo. I'm not seeing any damage output.
Yeah, I don't think they changed it.
He got a small boost to his base armor.
Yeah, a lot of them did because they had to make up for the fact that there's only one tank that's gonna get.
Barrier increased a little bit in power. And
Okay,
the
that makes
duration
sense.
reduced from 9 to 8 seconds. Cooldown reduced from 13 to 12. So
Again, if you were God tier Winston before,
yeah,
you're just doing more
You're gonna-
impressive.
you're gonna
And
have
the
fun.
thing is, I've heard a lot of people saying that Winston's worse than Wrecking Ball now, and I hard disagree. I think Winston is probably one of the biggest winners. The biggest loser, though, of the tank category is Hog. I think we can agree on this.
the biggest loser in the tank category.
Yeah, I think it's Hog. Roadhog. I think he's.
I would disagree.
You think
Doomfist
Sigma's
is the
first?
biggest loser. Doomfist is the biggest loser in the tank category.
Unless
He's
you're
the
good with him.
absolute biggest hit. Even Ed, you're talking about so many things he has to put together to come close
Moving
to
along
what
now.
he could do before. So, and again, we're gonna have to see how the meta plays out to kind of see what Overwatch 2
Power
is going
block
to look
is
like.
definitely not good right
Yeah.
now. The fact that he just gets slapped through it kind of sucks for him.
Basically, if you play Doomfist like Doomfist from Overwatch 1, you're gonna have a bad time.
They go bad
Not
time.
gonna, he's not gonna feel fun at all.
He's
because
really good at
instead of-
displacing people though, and
Yeah,
he's got a
yeah.
lot of cool techs. If you know how to play Doomfist to a reasonable degree and have at least 100 or so hours on him, you're probably gonna have a decent amount of fun with the new Doomfist.
Well, the thing
That
is,
said,
with-
I feel there's a lot of people who are trying him and have no idea how to play Doomfist and are just making him look worse than he is.
Oh, totally. But the thing is like now his powers and his ability to increase his power to previous Doomfist levels requires him to go from being basically an assassin, flanker, which is what Doomfist was great at in Overwatch 1, to being a down in front tank. And
He
that's,
takes the same way that like Wrecking Ball does.
yeah.
I still think Hog is kind of in a worse spot because he got slightly more healing, slightly bigger health pool, and that was it.
Yeah,
If you're good with Hog and you can do the one hit kill assassinations on squishies, you probably are gonna do well with Hog. I don't think he's ever gonna be a top tier pick because he's not great at protecting his team.
Don't lead the robot.
Zarya I would also put near the bottom at the moment. Like I have played her and she can be really good.
See, the thing with Zarya is it's hard to say she's the biggest loser because, honestly, she hasn't changed much.
No, the changes to her were very basic. Same with Hog. Like Hog
She,
Hog just
her
ends up
base
in this.
health, or the total health has basically increased by 75.
Well, the whole game also changed around Hog, and you don't have two tanks. So Roadhog doesn't get the choice to just be like, well, you guys are fighting on the front line. I'm just gonna go flank. Like he is the front line, so people are gonna be looking for him. So trying to catch people by surprise to get those one hook and cook combos is going to be harder. Sigma is still good.
Mm-hmm. Sigma's okay. His range increased a little bit. His damage increased a little bit. His base shields increased a little bit.
And they removed his flicker, his cooldown on putting the shield back up. It's instant now.
Still,
they
I
tuned him back up a bit. They tuned him back up to how he was.
2 seconds.
A bit.
So the thing is, the reason why I don't think Roadhog's as big of a loser is because of the change in how people are playing. Now, is this how Overwatch 2 is going to be played? 5 months from now, more than likely no.
Well, that's the other elephant in the room is it's 10-minute plus queue as of right now to get in to play tank. Tank is the most in-demand role right now, and healer is the least.
Yeah, and
sorry if I said that right. They need more healers right now. The queues for healers and DPS are much lower than tank. I don't know if that's because tank is the new hotness with the way they're changing things, or what it is, but
yeah, but Zarya definitely feels like she's Zarya. They tweaked some things about her her barrier, and she has the same amount of barriers. It's just she gets to choose who they go on.
Yeah, that was the biggest change. Is she gets
one
two
for
charges.
One for the other.
Yeah, she gets 2 charges. There is one. The downside with it is you can't shield the same target twice. There's a 2-second. Like you can shield yourself twice, but you can't project onto the same target twice. There's a 2-second cooldown between that. I needed that. So you can't save someone. They last longer a bit, but I feel like she's not bad. But I've seen way less people playing Hog, and when there are people playing Hog, they're just like, I'm gonna just murder everyone until the other team goes Reaper and
I believe Ashe is pretty much the same in the DPS category.
Very, very, very minimal. If there's any changes to her, big up with those changes. Bastion was also big. Bastion doesn't feel as oppressive as he was. Like, honestly, he goes to tank form, and I kind of just duck around a corner and start healing people that way. And if I was on D.Va, I just try and...
The team fights don't last as long.
They can last a long time, but it really depends.
But
you know what we didn't talk about? The ping system.
That is true. A big change to the Overwatch 2 ping system does let you communicate with your team without communicating, which is good for us introverts.
I just don't like talking to people. They get too heated, and I just can't. I can't deal with it.
Well, the thing is, the reason why I don't think Bastion is goes again back to the general overall change in the pace of the game.
It's much
doesn't
faster.
Allow much for bunkering, and so Bastion mastered bunkering. Be it in the pirate ship format or in the corner with shield. Bastion is much more mobile now, and it's important to remember he has a grenade now because
you can do rollouts too. I think Bastion's good. They made him.
I like his ult.
His ult is interesting, but you can eat it. D.Va is the easiest to eat it with. Apparently, you can also shoot them out of the sky if you are good enough. They can't be destroyed. But who's gonna do that in a team fight and then shooting them under an underpass or something? Honestly, most of the DPS didn't change too much unless they had CC. Like they gave Acity a grenade instead of the flashbang. It's like a sticking homie grenade.
Yep.
I think it's a little too powerful, but I understand why it's as powerful as it is. It's gonna make the Tracer matchup very
The end.
interesting because it doesn't stun anymore.
Yeah, Junkrat feels pretty much the same. Uh,
Yeah.
if a little bit lower, again, back to the pacing. But Junkrat's still pretty powerful though. May is
May's got all the
changes.
changes.
She's become Pyro from Team Fortress 2.
Pyro, yeah, kind of.
Surrender to my
The
will.
wall's still there.
It's nice not freezing.
Yeah.
I
She's
want
just
to end.
she's a killer though. She's
Yeah, she's
just
still a killer, but you at least don't feel helpless while fighting against her, which can make many people throw things.
we've been
Hera.
going on for quite a while here. So let's just do some over. I know you want to like go through everyone, but we'll probably be here all night if we do. So overall, the state of the game right now, what do you think?
Don't fret. I see you.
I have to stick with a little bit of what I was originally thinking. I'm not a huge fan of it as it is. And this is, I say this with acknowledgement that he will very likely change. The reason I
Incoming.
feel that I probably won't like it is mostly because I'm not used to the change in tactics in Overwatch 2. Not necessarily any particular hero changes or any particular changes to the maps, anything like that. It's more somehow all this has boiled down to a huge amount of change in how it's played. And so, like I said, I go back to it feels very much playing a whole different game. And so that makes it feel a lot worse than probably it is. I'm trying not to be as paranoid about the Blizzard, but I still the big criticism that I had that I said to you is it feels like an amazing new version of Overwatch League. And Overwatch League's fun to watch, but as someone who's not a pro, not fun to play. But again, I'll go back to it and I'll leave it on. As it stands, I'm not a huge fan of it, but I'm willing to keep trying it and seeing how it changes.
That's fair. That's very fair. So far, I'm actually really liking a lot of the changes. The things that I'm not super keen on are the tuning of some of the heroes, and I'm hoping they change. They were talking about healers getting slightly buffed, so I don't know if that's going to be faster regen or something, but they feel very vulnerable unless you're Lucio or... Unless you're Lucio. Mercy's pretty good at dodging things as long as people are set up in a nice way, but
Yeah,
Ana
but
feels
again,
like... Ana and Zen feel very vulnerable unless you're really good at aiming. And sometimes if you get caught out, you're not going to be able to turn and do it that much. I think it's going to be interesting, especially since they've decided to make characters that are overlapping. Like we were talking with Sojourn earlier, how she's very much like Soldier 76, but a different flavor of Soldier 76 with more skill shots involved.
yeah.
Like Echo is
Powered up. Get in there.
kind of... She's not really the same even as Farah. It's going to be interesting to see what we get next, and I feel like the balance patches will come, and there will be balance.
I've got you.
Ryan probably could use some love. He's kind of in... I put him in middle tank tier. Like, he's still good, but...
He can do things still, definitely. Like I said, it boils down to there's too many unknowns in play at once.
Yeah. That's...
Because you took a tank away, which changes a lot of the tactics on its own. You've added a new mode, which changes a lot of tactics in its own. You vastly changed how some of the tanks play, which again, another thing that changes how you play the game. And so it all comes down to there's so many different things that it's hard to pin down. Okay, well, Arissa's overpowered, or Brian needs to be buffed, or it, Mercy needs some love, or Moira needs some love, or Zenyatta and Anna, because it's one of those things where, again, like a situation I'm thinking, like you have Zenyatta and Anna. If your DPS is putting their work in and your tank's not being a complete dummy, the enemy team's dead before they have a chance to jump on Zenyatta or Anna. So it's hard to pin it down to any single thing, and so that's why I'm willing to keep looking at it, definitely, because it's a whole nother game. And I'll put that in a positive for Overwatch. It, going in the future, the big thing I want them to not do is how they treated Overwatch 1.
Yeah,
Where
the
we went from regular updates
to nothing, radio silence.
to
Yeah, I
radio
hope
silence.
I hope right now. I hope that when Microsoft takes over, because I think that's happening. I hope that's one of the things. Like if the Overwatch team needs more devs, more like ideas, more anything, they should be like, you got to keep it up to date. Like, look at Halo Infinite's kind of in the same boat right now as Overwatch was, where it's been almost half a year and they got like one new map or something. And I kind of hope that we're not gonna see this with these servicey type games. I hate the finish it later sort of things, but this is a beta, and
Yeah,
I have a lot of
numbers-wise in the
sneaking
beta.
suspicions about what happened with said beta. This was a change internally because a lot of what they were showing for Overwatch 2 before was the PvE stuff, and that's been all put on hold indefinitely, from my understanding right now. They're gonna get the PvP out.
I will admit, for a beta from Overwatch, from specifically Blizzard, it didn't have the typical Blizzard polish.
No,
Because
it didn't.
if you recall with the Overwatch 1 beta, it pretty much looked the same as Overwatch now.
There was a couple things
There's
that
some,
changed, but
but
overall not much. Like there was the
overall,
cosmetic stuff that was added afterwards, like how you unlock things.
yeah.
But yeah, you're 100% right. Like this one does feel more rough. But I'm kind of okay with seeing it in a more rough state. The gameplay part of the game, part of the game seems okay. But there was like a Hanzo skin that made him invisible. And I was like, oh no.
Speaking of invisibility, I do not like how Sombra's new hack is. I do not like it. I do not like it. Unless I'm playing Sombra, in which case I love it.
Do as I say, not as I do.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, her ability to just stay invisible, mostly. Like she gets a little bit visible when she goes to hack.
Yeah,
but that's for that little split amount of time.
I found that,
and then she's back to being
I'm
invisible.
actually really good at like finding them out when they start doing stupid stuff. But the hack is different now. It's not quite the same. But there was definitely a time where I'm just like, she's right there, and I just shoot her, and she'd be like, she'd be all mad. She's like shooting at me, and I'd be like, no, here's Nate, screw you. But just
the
like
biggest, the biggest thing is just have them stick with it and keep releasing new stuff. Like when it comes to the skins, like I'll be honest, I enjoyed the recolors where it wasn't really much work. It was just slightly different colors. I'm like that brought me into Overwatch 1 again. Start releasing more consistently new maps. And if you feel the need to, cycle maps out of the rotation if you want.
Well, we lost 2 CP in favor of push, and I think we can both agree push is better.
Well,
push is way better.
I don't mean like, because there's 4 new maps, and I don't mean that they need to release 4 maps a year in particular, or even, 4 maps at a time.
Well, we got
But definitely make sure, like, next year I go, well, this event's coming up, so there's going to be that excitement about, okay, there's going to be these new skins, there's going to be some new lore, there's going to
we
be a
don't
new
even know
map.
when Overwatch 2 is releasing. It's going to be out of beta.
Like, have fun with it. Like, set your art department loose and go, guys, have fun.
I think they should rework Paris into a
Yeah,
push map. Like you'd have to redo a lot of the thing, but I think like Paris had a lot of cool ideas, and you could rework it into a push map. Maybe it's not the exact same as it was, but like I think the last map we got after Paris was uh was a death. We get 2 deathmatch maps because they were like hiring new people, and they got them to make a map, and the maps they made were deathmatch maps.
yeah.
Again, I don't mind, but I don't play deathmatch. I don't play Overwatch to play deathmatch. If I want to play deathmatch, I go play Quake.
The fact of the matter is, the main mode of Overwatch is one of two things. It's either the quick play or the competitive play, and it felt honestly like nothing was coming out. Like Blizzard forgot that they have a game called Overwatch. They remembered that they had an Overwatch League,
There
but
was
they
other
forgot
things going
everything
on
else.
with that from what we have heard internally, and I would love to hear the story later down the line and dissect everything that went down that ruined Overwatch, because
Definitely.
there's a whole bunch of crap that's come, and I remember before he left the team talking about how people were like, oh, we could do this for Halloween and do more fun things. I want more fun little events, even if it's just reworking a map that already exists or
Yeah,
making a map that's not competitively viable.
I'll be honest. The most fun I had was seeing like Hollywood with the
But Hollywood,
Halloween rework.
yeah, Halloween
Like,
Hollywood
that was
is an
awesome.
awesome map. But then you have like Christmas Blizzard World and other maps that have like
Yeah,
Kings Row has Christmas. Does Kings Row have a Halloween one?
Kings Road,
I
I
hope
don't
New
believe
Queen
has
Street
Halloween.
gets a Christmas one.
But again, this goes back to like, and if you want to make like these like artistic-y, changes, not in competitive, that's fine. I'm cool with you
You
having
remember
the
when
base map being what they use for the competitive, and then going, hey, it's Christmas. Here, have fun. Enjoy this Christmassy atmosphere.
yeah,
Oh, it's
Halloween
Halloween. Enjoy this.
Eichenwald has the Halloween one. That's the
Yeah,
map. And
and,
the new
and,
lighting
and
system's
definitely
cool
have
too.
fun with it. I'm willing to withhold judgment on Blizzard team as a whole,
Okay, well, we could always
mostly,
revisit this. We
but
can revisit this at some point,
yeah,
and when a new patch or whatever comes through, and see if you still like it. But
definitely.
you still like regular Overwatch. I find I like playing Overwatch with people, but
I
I get really annoyed with all the crowd control, and then if there's just some guy who's god tier on Doomfist on the other team in original, there's characters that are just so annoying in Overwatch 1 that while I still
yeah.
love the game, I find it very
hmm
enjoyable. There are things that make me mad at the game, like make me genuinely salty, and I'm just like,
Yeah,
like
I would say they're like, if I'm taking a step back and looking at Overwatch 1 versus Overwatch 2, for me, they feel equal. And the reason why I say they feel equal is because the stuff that we probably definitely agree on the bad stuff of Overwatch 1 is definitely not in Overwatch 2. But then there's other stuff about Overwatch 2 that feels vastly more frustrating than what was in Overwatch 1. And so that's why I say it feels a little bit more equal. Overwatch 1 definitely feels more forgiving in comparison. Um, and
it's some
I mean,
modes.
and at the same time, going back to what the goal of a game is to play a game to have fun. It's e- e- not every match needs to be life or death, and it kind of forces you to have that kind of like you get a little sweaty playing Overwatch 2. And because
That
of the
might
pace,
also be a side effect of there only being quick play in the beta right now, and everyone's just like
yeah,
super
yeah.
sweaty,
Well,
and you're ending
well,
up. And from my understanding, there's also no MMR system, so there's no
it's a
matchmaking
combination of
rating.
no MMR system. You have a smaller subset of what would be Overwatch 2 players. You don't have the full,
Well, if we go by
so we could call it data
so it'd be
speed.
probably 1.5 plus however many people they invited, not including content creators and Overwatch pros that are going to be scrimming with each other or making custom games.
Yeah.
We'll assume like a million or so people. That's a much less than the population of Overwatch 1.
Yeah. Well, definitely. So the way it happened, any Overwatch player that had a day job pretty much
Comes back
lost
for
out.
events. Yeah, they came up for comes back for events, if that.
And that's not a knock on Blizzard or anything like that. I'm not trying to say that's a bad thing. It's just that seems like what we're seeing right now is pretty much the people who've only had, they have daytimes to themselves, or if you work from home, you can just click over and be like, okay, I'm playing it in the background, don't care. But
For sure.
yeah, definitely willing to keep an eye on it. Definitely want them to do more with it. Want them to not forget Overwatch 2 like they forgot Overwatch 1. And
I'm
I will
hoping the
continue
PvE stuff comes out at some point, though.
to bop them on the head and say they needed a V8 for that, because that, in my opinion, is unforgivable. And they need to not apologize for it, just do better this time. Like, that's it. Like, I'm not going to be like sitting here like, you need to apologize for this. No, just go look at it. Go, okay, that was a mistake internally. You don't even have to say it in front of me. Just internally go, okay, this what we did here.
I think they've admitted publicly that it was a mistake doing what they did.
Yeah,
with Overwatch, but
that all the respect to them for doing that and being as communicative as they are. Because even honestly, even when the all the stuff was going down in Activision and all that, and all the stuff that's we didn't know at the time was going on in the background, they were being communicative with the Overwatch community, and I have to give them props for that, because that can be a hard thing to do.
Yeah, for sure.
And so I'm not trying to knock them for that. It's more, I appreciate the fun, silly things of seeing Jeff, sit in front of a fireplace for, hours on end.
And the stupid,
I appreciate that.
All the dumb things that they did for Overwatch 1. I'm really, with all the new voice lines and all the new fun, like, little things that happen in Overwatch 2, I'm definitely seeing that they're putting more into Overwatch 2 what people liked about Overwatch 1. Like, people loved all the weird voice lines and the interactions between characters. And now they're, like, having ones, like, on the field. Like, if you kill Brig as Ana, she's like, you make all of Reinhardt's mistakes.
See, it's stuff like that. Like, they don't even have to, they don't honestly have to put a huge amount of effort. They just need to put a consistent amount of effort, because this feels great right now because it's all new. But 6 months from now, a year from now, if they're not
this is all we
even
get,
more new stuff, we're gonna be like, well, man, I remember,
if you remember
when we could have 6 players.
If you remember the original Overwatch beta, I got in when they added Diva.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was like they added Diva, and then I think they added May.
Mm-hmm.
And then it was the game launched.
That's what happens when you invite Satan into your house.
Yeah, it just okay. We've been going on for like an hour and 15 or so minutes, and we promised Chief we go play with her. So we're gonna do that, and we'll be back probably next week. We'll figure out a day to record so we can I don't have to edit this
with this.
Yes, so we can talk about things, because that's what we need.
Definitely.
I don't know what we're gonna talk about next week, but we'll think of something. Unless something crazy happens. It's not gonna be Overwatch next week for sure.
We'll put on our our journalistic hats.
The journalistic hats.
And pretend
And reveal
for a
the
little
name
bit.
next time. We'll reveal the name of the podcast next time. This
Maybe.
one's just like maybe.
We're still working on it.
All right. So we'll see
Goodbye,
everyone
everybody.
next week. At the night.